Today, we're talking about feedback at work, the kind that lands in your body before it reaches your brain, the kind that sounds like, "Can I give you some feedback? We should talk about your performance. Here's something to work on." Your stomach drops, your mind races. Suddenly, you're thinking, "This means I'm failing. They're regretting hiring me. This really confirms I do not belong here." You replay the feedback over and over, you lose confidence, you spiral. Today, we're using our framework to understand what's really happening when feedback triggers anxiety and how to receive it without letting it collapse your confidence or confirm imposter syndrome. Welcome to Communication Skills for Working Women. I'm Elizabeth.
And I'm Rose May. Do you find yourself second guessing or avoiding conversations because you're worried about being misunderstood?
You're not alone. On this show, we're sharing tangible tools for assertiveness, emotional resilience, and real-life communication wins and fails.
Let's sharpen our communication together. So this story comes from a time where I was not working within my scope of competency, and this is like actually true. So I'm not a techie, but I was working in the tech department. And and that was like part of my job. Like the first half of my, like one part of my job was something that was like completely unrelated to that. The second part of my job was very, very technical, like security, like cybersecurity. I had no business doing this job. I'm just gonna say that. But the other part of my job was within my wheelhouse. So it was just like part of the responsibility that I had. And I remember that it was time for me to go in for a review. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I know nothing. I actually know that I know nothing. This is not like like esteem issue or anything like that. I still don't know anything about like the tech world. There's a reason I didn't choose that as an occupation. Um, and I just remember being like, this is gonna be oh man, I'm not going to say what I want to say, but it was going to be a storm. Um, and so I just remember like my supervisor was the nicest person in the world. He was so kind and so, let me help you figure this out. I'll train you on how to do this. So I never felt that I didn't have the resources available. I just knew that it wasn't something that I liked doing and I had to do it and I wasn't very good at it because my brain doesn't work in this way. It's like this is not a way that my brain works in. So I was doing probably the bare minimum, like enough so that they couldn't fire me and they didn't have anybody else to do the job, so they couldn't fire me anyway. Um, and going in for this performance review, I was just like, wow, this is gonna be really, really terrible because I was new. I didn't know what I was doing. So, I just remember feeling really stressed and I remember feeling like, oh, you're gonna be like, who let the ball drop and like hired this person because she doesn't even know basic words. Like I'm talking basic words. And to be fair, this was like, I don't know, maybe like 10-ish years ago, which doesn't sound like a long time ago. Feels like a long time ago. But
When you say basic words, you mean like tech vocab.
yes, it was tech vocab, basic tech vocab, like I can't even tell you what's the board that's inside of a computer. See, I can't even think of
Right.
it. It's a
Like the
very basic
motherboard.
word.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. I still. Anyways, so I just remember feeling really, really nervous about that. It's definitely a lot of anxiety. What I think what's even more anxiety inducing is that I know I know my stuff in the field that I work in. I'm very, very confident in that. But to be in a situation where I'm not feeling confident because I don't know as much was very, very anxiety inducing for me. So like not being able to present what I do know, that was really, really hard because I'm now like I'm presenting with the stuff that I don't know when I'm being
Right.
reviewed about it. So,
Okay, before we get into like the framework and how you someone would maybe want to approach a review, how did your review end?
you know what? I honestly can't remember, but I it must not have been that bad
I was just gonna
because
say.
if I don't even remember, and to be 100% fair, I wasn't 100% like invested in this job, this particular job, because I can't even remember how the performance review was. I just remember like the feeling. So I'm assuming it probably didn't go bad at all.
You know, that comment of just that, okay, I wasn't that invested in that job, that's something really interesting to consider as like if you have anxiety around something or, as you're going into a meeting, like you weren't invested, but you still had anxiety
Yeah.
around it. But like, what is that showing you? What is that telling you? Are you fully invested? This first step of like, what's your communication goal or getting really clear? Like, if you're not that invested in something and you're going in for a review and you're kind of like, well, I don't even really care about this job, there's still so many other things you can still get from a feedback review.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. And the thing is like, of course I want to do my job better.
Right.
So it's absolutely 100% like for my own benefit to have this review. Again, it's like not in my wheelhouse.
Right.
So it wasn't something that I was emotionally invested in, but I am emotionally invested in a lot of things about myself, and I think that that'll come
Yeah.
out in the framework. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I too, like before we get into the framework too, I'm like, before you go into a review, it'd be really important to be super clear on your values as well. And as you're getting feedback, like, is this feedback showing me that I'm living in alignment with my values or I'm not living in alignment with with my values? Like, feedback it's a skill to learn how to take feedback that every single human needs to develop because I have not met a human that likes it.
Oh yeah, because terrible.
And it's so
It's helpful.
insightful
Yeah,
and
it's
so helpful and so great.
yeah. Most things
Um,
that are helpful, I mean, a lot of things that are helpful are terrible.
yeah,
Right? Like it's helpful to get my bones realigned when they're broken, but it hurts.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. All right, let's get into the framework.
So if I'm thinking about like my communication goal, like what I actually wanted, I think I think I wanted to stay confident while I was still developing. That is probably something that I really did want. And when I say like I'm not emotionally invested, it means like as a career, right? We were living in a certain place for a very specific amount of time, and this job was only going to be for that specific amount of time. And so that's a little bit more context to that. But I think other people are also whether that's the case or not, I think you could still want to stay confident while you're developing, right? Maybe want to receive feedback without panicking, want to learn from feedback without spiraling, and want feedback to help us grow, not shrink. And I don't know that you could ever get away from the discomfort, especially in my situation. Like there was a lot I didn't know. So I don't know that I could get away from the discomfort of that session. But I think that there was an opportunity to, it could maybe get grounded and instead of like defensive or yeah, spiraling. I don't know that I
Well,
truly spiraled, but I was like there was a high level of anxiety.
right. And being able to sit in that learning zone, that learning space, I think it's Dr. Kennedy that talks about it, like the space between where we don't know something and we do know something. She calls it like the learning zone or learning space or something like that. But really, it's discomfort. And
Yeah,
being able to manage that discomfort
yeah,
that's another life skill, right?
yeah. It is. It is.
Like, and I'm just like, how many times do we sit in this space of discomfort when we don't know something? We don't
Yeah,
know exactly what's going to be said in our feedback review. We don't know, like the list goes on of things that we don't know all the time.
yeah,
So learning how to manage ourselves. And I love this staying confident while developing. I'm like,
yeah,
that is like the ideal.
That's the ideal
They,
situation, right?
yes,
Yeah.
I'm like, I want to dig into like, well, we will in this. Like,
Yeah.
how do you stay confident while you're still developing? And this, I'm like, this can be applied to every single aspect of your life,
Yep.
to your relationships at home, at work, to yourself personally, like all of your relationships, this can be
Hmm.
applied to. All right, so current actions. What were you doing or not doing to contribute to staying confident while developing or not maintaining that confidence while developing?
What
Sorry,
was,
I didn't ask if we were gonna really dig into you.
that's okay.
All
Yeah.
right, let's do it then.
Let's see. What were some of my current actions? I think there was hmm, probably an overanalyzation of what others were gonna think.
Mm,
So there were others like within the department. It's a very, very small department, like honestly, like only like three or four of us. And a very, very big, like bigger part of a bigger agency. And yeah, just the fact that there were only three of us doing this, right? So I think that there was a fear of which I guess is step three, but like there was just a fear that was present, and I overanalyzed like what how they were looking at me when I walked in for my review,
mm,
or how they were looking at me when I walked out of my review, or like did I say the right words when I even walked into my review, because I had to walk past like these two other people to get to um my supervisor's office, to get into his office, and just kind of being like, hey, I'm here. Anyways, so yeah, I don't know that I necessarily even like ask questions afterwards. I don't know
right.
that I asked questions. I think I maybe just sat there and just took it.
Yeah.
Um, for lack of a better term, which again I don't think was even bad, because
Right.
I don't remember what happened. And not because it was a trauma-inducing situation, but I really don't think it was that bad.
So then we can't really analyze it. We don't really remember what happened. So we can just talk about like what are things people maybe do or don't do. So you might overanalyze tone or wording. You might assume the worst possible meaning. You might shut down or get quiet afterward. You might avoid asking follow-up questions or work harder to prove yourself. Or you might withdraw or second guess everything or something else. These aren't overreactions at all. This is just how we deal with things when we're not super clear on our goal or when we have these other worries and hidden commitments that we're actually living towards instead of our main goal.
Well, I think I did do like I guess like withdrawing or shutting down. And I don't know that it was like a total like meltdown shutdown, but I certainly like didn't ask follow-up questions.
Mhm.
Like I certainly didn't, I wasn't diving into like the feedback. I know that. Like I said, I think I just
Right.
sat there and took it, you know. And I think a lot of that was because I was afraid of what might happen, right? Which is
Mm,
step three, like identifying what might happen. And I absolutely believe like so much was at stake at this job. This is what was weird, is like I had no business doing this job. There was actually quite a bit at stake. And so I felt like this responsibility of being able to do the things that I needed to do. And I really did feel like I could make one mistake and that could really ruin things. And it, which is
So,
actually the truth. That was the truth. Like there were a couple of mistakes that I could possibly make that could really, really impact like 200 people. Um,
okay, that was going to be my question. Is
yeah.
this
So
like
that was,
impact to other people?
oh yeah, oh yeah. So that was true. And so I was really worried that I would do that, and that would lead to like people being disappointed in me, right?
Mm,
Like that confirmation that this I shouldn't be doing this job, right?
right.
Or even just like not meeting expectations, because there is such a very solidly outlined review process. So like not meeting those expectations means your job is in jeopardy. So yeah, I was worried about a lot of things.
So I feel like your worries, like you've just shared now this next step, what your hidden commitments were, like you were committed to keeping this job.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Because it was the only job that I could have at the time.
It was the only job you could ha have. You said you were living foreign, and so things are
Yeah,
very limited. It sounds
yeah,
like it was a job that needed to be filled,
yeah, yep,
and
yeah,
maybe there weren't a lot of people to fill it either.
yeah.
And like, even if you weren't super clear on staying like confident while developing, it sounds like that's just a thread of who you are. Like, that's probably one of your core values.
What is one of my core
Like
values?
staying confident
Oh,
while
yeah,
developing.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's like even developing in a way that it is uncomfortable because right, you can't develop
Mm.
without discomfort, but like in a way that is uncomfortable, but also like at a pace that is manageable for me. And I don't know that this situation felt that way.
So this was like you were really navigating a lot of things
Yeah,
in this position that you were holding.
yeah, yeah.
Like this is a very unique situation. I'm curious as I say this to our listeners, like, do you feel like it's that unique? Like,
Oh, it's very, very, not many people would be doing this job. Like, yeah, it is a very unique situation. And that's why I keep saying I had no business doing it. Like, I really, really did it. And the nature of where we were was that I was the one who had to do it. So,
right. All right, so these hidden commitments can show up as I'm committed to being seen as competent, to not disappointing others, to protecting my reputation, to proving I deserve this role. So these commitments really do make sense, and they also turn feedback into a threat.
hmm. Yeah, and I think that was making, going into the next step, there were a lot of assumptions that I was making. One of them was, um, I'm probably the only person that's getting feedback like this. I don't remember what the feedback is, but
Mm.
I know that that was a thought. Why? Because this is not what I do regularly, right? Um, just anything like good employees don't get feedback like this, right? Or if I was even like capable, because I can't even remember what the feedback is, but if I was capable, there would be minimal feedback, right? I think that was the other thing too, was like my feedback would be like, you're doing a great job. Like, and if I was capable, then that's probably what I would have gotten. So that's what I was thinking in my mind is like, if I'm capable, like my feedback's gonna be like, wow, we're so lucky to have you. You're doing
Mm.
doing such a great job. Yeah, that was ridiculous. But like those at the same time, like those thoughts and those feel like those they feel true, right? It feels like
Oh
if you're doing
yeah.
your job the way you should, your feedback should be spectacular, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Which isn't actually true, but
right.
that's probably what 99% of us think.
That is not true at all, no.
So,
Yeah.
so instead of trying to like feel calm when we go in for feedback, we can experiment on different things. And we are going to offer 4 experiments today. So, one thing that you can do is ask for a greater vision. Can you help me understand how big of a priority this is compared to everything else I'm doing? Sometimes we just don't have the same vision as our leaders. And so we might be putting more effort or energy into something else. And I say leaders, but I also mean like our families, our friends. Like anytime we're doing something, we're a part of something, and maybe like our behavior isn't lining up with somebody else, in like I'm putting in a lot more effort here, or they're putting in a lot more effort somewhere else. And like maybe we just don't have the same vision as the
Mm,
other person.
that's true.
And so just asking can be really helpful. Another thing that you can experiment on is clarify the behavior and remove it from yourself. Could say something like this. I'd like to make appropriate adjustments. Can you point out a specific example so I can understand what to adjust? I think a comment like this is really, really important that you're
Good
totally
point.
grounded and
Yeah.
this is totally about behavior and
Yeah.
there's no edginess, there's no like defensiveness
Defensive.
in your
Yeah.
voice.
Yeah.
Like this has to be a total like I'm coming because I want to gain understanding. Like and I want to make the right adjustment. So can you help me understand, or can you show me an example or tell me an example? But don't say this one if you feel at all defensive. Like you can't hide that in your voice.
Nope. Nope. Sure can't.
I mean, you might be able to hide it in your voice, but it will come through. We talk about this all the time at my house. Like you might think you sound calm, but everything's a brewing underneath. So, all right. The third thing you can do is reflect back what you heard. And you just say it by saying something like this. What I'm hearing is that you want X handled differently moving forward. Does that sound correct? Or is that in alignment with what you heard? Or something like this. I'm understanding that you want this adjustment made. Is that correct? The fourth experiment, or the last one we're going to have you try, is to just go in with gratitude. Say this. This is helpful feedback. I'm still building this skill, and I appreciate knowing what to focus on. You you're coming in really grateful for that feedback. And if you can feel grateful and then use those words, this is helpful feedback. I'm still building this skill and I really appreciate knowing what to focus on. That's going to build bridges and connections in the relationships that matter most. I mean, you can use this almost anywhere. This is a great line to
Yeah.
use.
You can use that anywhere, any situation, anytime you're relating or dealing with humans.
Yes.
Honestly, honestly.
Absolutely. We
Um,
can all say, I'm still developing this skill. Thanks for
yeah,
that feedback.
yeah, for sure. Um, and even if it like thanks for that feedback isn't something that you would normally say, sometimes I'll say thanks for mentioning that, I
Oh,
appreciate that. So then
thanks. Yeah.
oh,
Even
sorry.
that, just thanks for sharing that perspective. I hadn't considered that. Like,
Yeah.
I was having a conversation with someone yesterday that I said those exact same words. I had not considered that perspective. And it wasn't even that I didn't actually agree with it, their perspective, but I hadn't considered that perspective and it allowed me to open my mind a little bit more and it allowed me to consider that, hey, or even to validate like, hey, someone else is having a different experience around this. Like I cannot agree with it, but I can still validate that this person's experiencing these things.
Mhm.
So,
So then after you've done your experiment, you collect the data and you reflect, right? So what actually happened? Did it mean you were failing or being developed? Did your manager disengage or invest more? Did the feedback define you or guide you? And in my situation, I would 1000% say that my manager invested more and that I was being developed. So in that case, my supervisor was extremely kind, and his intent was to invest more to develop my skills, help me develop my skills, and to guide me in this job because he knew I was flying blind, right? Um, so another part of that was just noticing like what your anxiety was like. Was it louder than the reality of what might have actually been present in the room, right? And what evidence do you have that is supporting your growth rather than threat? And again, like if I go back to my supervisor, like he really was helping me to develop and build those skills. And when we can go back and reflect and look on those things, notice those things, identify those things, it really does help shape our confidence. So this week, notice one moment when feedback triggers your anxiety. Pause before interpreting it and identify your worries, your commitments, and your assumptions. Choose one response experiment and then stay curious instead of spiraling or collapsing, or as the kids say these days, crashing out. Remember the kids. Remember that feedback is information, it's not your identity. And learning curves are expected, not hidden. This is how we grow. Being coached means you're being invested in, and you don't need to be a finished product to be valued.
spiraling after feedback doesn't mean that you're weak. It actually really means that you care and your system's trying to protect you from judgment or just any of the other hidden commitments that we have. This barrier isn't a lack of confidence. It's what keeps us going in life, actually. So slow down, ask clarifying questions, Separate who you are from what you're learning. This is how confidence grows, especially when we're new. We're just doing something new. We'd love to connect with you. Go to our Facebook group at Communication Skills for Working Women. Until next time, speak clearly and listen bravely.
When you feel confident in your communication, everything changes.
We'd love to hear your wins, failures, and insights on Instagram at Communication Skills for Women. Leave a review and connect with us.
Until next time, speak clearly and listen bravely.